I believe in family, so I think that we should have policies that push family. I think that feminism overall was a bad thing. I think that we should be. I think women are happier when we have, a family and kids over a career in the long run.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, yeah. Sorry, I'm a little nervous.
It's
I'm a
okay.
little,
Yeah, I
little
understand.
nervous.
So it's more like, yeah, traditional. You want people to kind of follow a more traditional path in terms of
Mhm.
family and gender and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, and you just see the negative, like outcomes a society has when like families fall apart, right? And it's especially hard on the children. Like you see, more you're more the kids are more likely to go to prison. They're more likely to drop out of school. They're more likely to be in mental health institutions. So you just see like all of the problems that come with single mother homes. So I just think it's important that we push policies that push family.
So how do you push a policy that promotes family? Like, in what way can you force a family to stay together or encourage it, in a sense?
Well, I think you first have to get rid of incentives that incentivize like women to leave families. So, um, like, for example, child support, alimony, I'm not really a fan of those.
Child support. So
Mm.
if there's a divorce, let's
Oh,
say that
actually, I think we should ban divorce too. Yeah, I think that should be banned. Yes.
okay, well that's a little bit silly. You have to acknowledge that, right?
No.
So banning divorce means that when you decide to get married, you are not allowed by the government to leave your significant other in any situation.
Hmm. Yeah. I just think that if you want to leave, you just shouldn't get married. So that's just my opinion.
Right, but like in the real world, that kind of
And
simplistic.
there's like exceptions to this, but I would just say in general for most cases, we could talk about exceptions, but like the rule,
Well, the
divorce.
exceptions are the important part because I've heard you say that a lot when you're talking about things. You say, "Oh, you want to talk about exceptions," but the exceptions is the important part because those are the people that are going to be affected. I mean, exceptions are going to be a large part of divorces, as you say. I mean, you're talking about like, you know, 25% maybe or more. Because if you're saying you're not allowed to get divorced, so we're talking about like, what if the relationship is physically abusive?
Mhm. Yeah, I think if it's physically, see, this is the problem though. All right. If it's one-sided physically abusive, okay, fine, divorce. We can allow divorce for those exceptions. But
Okay.
like I've even talked to people that work at like abuse centers and they say that the majority of abuse is mutual. So it's not just one side's hitting the other, it's like mutual. So
Surely
I
that's
just
not
think the
every
goal, I
time,
think, yeah, I know. I
but
didn't
it's
say it
not
was every.
healthier either.
Mhm. I just think that the goal should be to keep families together and that the goal should be to work through it.
I think most people agree with that, right? Because I think we all can look at the stats and say family
Mhm.
is important, right? Family is important. Nuclear families is important to like the health of children growing up in general. I think we can all say that. But when you say something like divorce should be illegal,
Yeah.
we got to kind of suss that out because that's a pretty extreme claim. For example, um, in 2014, family
Mhm.
violence was the cause of 25% of divorces. So I don't think it's fair to characterize that as some kind of like super fringe example of why people get divorced.
Well, but you also have to look if there's incentive structures in place where there's a lot of false accusations in family court. Um, and a lot of people don't know this, that family court is actually it's not based off of evidence, it's based off a balance of probabilities. And there are incentive programs that you get, like in the UK, you get a free lawyer if you accuse your husband of abuse. And it's less than 10% of cases are actually like followed through with the police.
Sorry,
So,
I don't want to move on quite yet. I want to stick on the topic of not allowing people to divorce. So you're saying that you do want to allow people to divorce, then you don't really believe that.
no, I
Because
would say ban. ban divorce.
Okay, because you just said you would allow an exception in the case of abuse.
I said one-sided abuse exception, sure.
Okay, so how do you prove the one? So then you don't believe in forced divorce, or and you
Okay,
ban
fine,
divorce. Yeah.
Ban divorce except for one-sided abuse.
Okay,
Sure.
except for one-sided abuse. And is there going to be a system to kind of how do you prove that the woman or man
Well,
was on the?
I think
Yeah,
I think
you
have to press charges in criminal court, not family court.
So only if your significant other is tried criminally are you allowed to leave the relationship.
Yes.
Tried and found guilty criminally.
Yes, yes. Otherwise, just stick out of, which is fine if you don't, want to be with someone forever. But I just say stay out of marriage,
Right,
because when you take marriage is supposed to be, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health, and for richer or for poorer. It's not supposed to be, when I feel like leaving. And the majority of divorces nowadays, it's just, when the girl just feels like leaving.
That's not true.
So and well,
it's just not true.
I've talked to hundreds of women.
That's
on
not.
my show.
That's just
So,
that doesn't prove anything.
And even if you look at when no fault divorce was initiated in the 80 and 1970, I think it was initiated. I mean, one of the number one reasons was financial differences and irreconcilable.
And reconcile.
Yeah. Sorry, I can't talk.
So,
but yeah, I just think for the people that don't believe in real marriage, because what is marriage if you can get divorced over damn near anything? It's not marriage anymore. It's something else.
Well, I think the reason for that, historically, this emphasis on staying married, right? Or even before this no-fault divorce was an option, and it was more difficult for women to get divorced, or men, the abuse of power and the risk for abuse and for people to get stuck in a horrible relationship situation, not just for them, but their kids, right? I mean, obviously having your kids watch their mother get beat up. And oftentimes it's going to bleed.
Or the kids get watching their father get beat up. Like, it goes both ways.
I acknowledge that. It goes both ways. So both people have a right to, in my opinion, get divorced, because the alternative is one of the partners being stuck and
do you think that's the
a lethal
situation? Do you think that's the majority of cases?
A majority of cases of what? Divorce?
Of divorce.
25%. 25%. It's 25% based on statistics.
No, but that's not. No, that's not what's in criminal court. It's like less than 10%. It actually followed through in criminal court.
Well, regardless, 10% is enough, don't you think?
No, I said less than 10% of the abuse cases of the 25%. So that's like.
Journal of Family Violence in 2014 found that approximately 25% of divorces in the United States involve domestic violence.
Right. But again, that's because the woman says that she was, because their incentive.
Okay, but you're just saying stuff. You're just saying stuff. You don't actually know that to be true.
No, I do.
How?
I do. Okay, in the UK, there's a law that you get a free lawyer if
Sorry, but how does that prove that women are lying about violence?
Because I'm saying that you can't. Okay, you can't prove it unless they go to criminal court, because criminal court is based off of evidence, where family court is based off of a balance of probability. So it means it's more likely that they did it than didn't do it. It's not innocent until proven guilty.
Right, but they're not going to jail. It's just to let the abused.
You could call it jail when you have a lifetime of not seeing your children. When the whole
but it's
community.
Not.
You could. Have you spoken to these men? It's like literally their whole community thinks they're an abuser. Now they get to see their kids maybe 3 days a month if they're lucky. A lot of them are put on. A lot of them are put on.
Yeah, right. There's bad outcomes for sure. But
horrible.
On the whole,
a lot of men zero themselves out during this.
They what?
A lot of men commit suicide during.
I see.
Yeah.
Oh, that's horrible.
It's horrible. It's absolutely terrible. I interview these men that are going through this.
Yeah, I'm sure that's happened. But at the same time, you're saying women are lying about violence, and I haven't seen you be able to prove that.
I'm saying that you can't prove it unless you go to criminal court, because family court is not based off of evidence.
Right, but they're not going to jail. It's just about the welfare of the kids, and the people.
It's involved. A crime if you're falsely accusing someone of abuse. And so I'm saying there's no, you can't, they only prove it in less than 10% of cases
Okay,
in criminal court, because criminal court is based off of evidence. Family court is not.
so let's just say less than 10%. I'll just give you the benefit of the doubt on that. Still seems like enough to give people the option to leave. And this idea that women just leave whenever they want seems a little bit infantile, since because people change, right? Especially when people get married young, which does happen. People change, people go through shit, people grow apart. A lot of the men who end up being abusive, you hear, were one way before they got married and one way after you get married. So I don't think it's fair to say you're just leaving whenever you want, or you should just have to stay in this forever. Wouldn't you prefer people get married than never get married? Like, I feel like you would be disturbed if, like, only 5% of couples ever got married.
I'd rather people got married and stayed married.
Right, but that wasn't one of the options.
I actually don't see a point in getting married with the way that marriage is today, to be honest. Yeah, because again, like, what is it? The average marriage is like 8 years. So the average marriage is 8 years and you're done. That's not marriage.
Leaving a marriage due to domestic violence and not pursuing criminal charges. If so, let's say that a woman's in a marriage and they have no fault marriage divorce. So let's say she doesn't want to charge her husband. She just wants to leave amicably. Okay. But in your situation, she's forced to charge him legally, to have a police investigation, charge him for domestic violence. Wouldn't that be more damaging to his reputation?
Not if he beat the case, because again, it's based off of evidence. But I mean, I think that why would you want an abusive guy walking free? If he's actually abusive, he should go to jail.
Right.
Shouldn't we agree on that?
Right, but it's just not that simple, again, because like it's just not that simple, abuse cases, because, and it's not that simple to convict people.
I just don't think that men should be punished without evidence. And I think in family court, it's not based off of evidence. It's based on a balance of probabilities. And so you have a case where men only, like, they're stuck seeing their kid like 3 days a month, when again, it's not based off of evidence. Like, I've interviewed guys where literally the wife, and I've seen the court documents. It's coming out in my documentary that's coming out in the fall. But the wife was plotting to try to get the guy to hit her.
Right, I'm sure that happens, but
and the wife still got custody.
Right, but that's not a representative case. Again, I mean, for example. You ask why a mom wouldn't want to try a parent. It's more nuanced, right? I mean, you need a more developed take on that, because it's very traumatic for the kids and the family to put their father through a violence case, and especially when the kids are probably going to have to ask to testify, to talk to the police. I mean, I totally understand why a mother or father wouldn't want to put their family through that, don't you?
I mean, I can understand it. Yeah.
Sure. Sure. And I mean, according to national statistics on domestic violence, okay, there's 10 million men and women each year that are the victim of physical abuse. But in your world, I have a feeling that a lot of these people would be trapped in these marriages. And that's okay.
I said in one-sided abuse, they could leave. Yes.
Okay.
So, no.
Okay.
I do think in order to get custody of your kids, if you're going to accuse the other side of abuse, you should have to prove it.
Do you think what do you think is more harmful to kids, divorce or physical abuse?
Physical abuse.
Okay, you passed that one. But you had to think about it for a second. But anyway, let's move on from